Hey everyone. Ever get that feeling like the world's just gone kind of conspiracy crazy? Like every time you turn around, there's another wild theory popping up.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot.
But is it really more than before, or are we all just more tuned into it? Today we're going to go deep on that. Like, are these beliefs in conspiracy theories actually, like, increasing or what?
Yeah.
And we've got some good stuff to work with here. A research article that actually goes right at that question using, get this, data going back decades and from a bunch of different countries.
Wow. That's a lot of data.
Right. So we're basically on a mission to see if this whole idea, this feeling we have, is actually backed up by, like, real evidence,
Mm.
or if maybe, we're all just a little too paranoid.
It definitely feels like it's everywhere you look right
Like it
now.
does, right?
And I mean, there's that stat, right? Something like 73% of Americans think conspiracy theories are totally out of control.
Yeah. No, that's hard to ignore. Especially when, like, you think about social media, it seems like every crazy idea is just, like, amplified 1,000 times. Do you feel like you're seeing more of this stuff?
Honestly, yeah, but
Yeah.
you always have to wonder if that's just because we're paying more attention to it now, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like
That would be true.
this research is great because they didn't just go with how things feel. They went with hard data over time, not just, what's hot on Twitter right now.
Oh, I see. So, like, not just impressions or whatever, actual, like, numbers.
Exactly, like solid evidence.
Okay, so what, did they, like, dig through old libraries and newspapers and stuff? I'm picturing, like, dusty archives.
Maybe not that dramatic,
Okay.
but they did compare polls on the same conspiracy theories, some going back like 50 years.
Whoa, seriously? That's going way back.
So we can see how those beliefs have actually changed, not just assume. It's actually pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah. So, did they just stick with the classics, like the moon landing? Or did they go for some newer ones, too? Like, COVID stuff, QAnon, all that?
They went for it all, a whole mix of stuff.
Really? Okay.
To get the full picture, including the more recent ones, the COVID-19 stuff, QAnon. Yeah, to see if those really did, like, bump up belief.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I remember it felt like everybody was talking about microchips and vaccines and all sorts of crazy stuff back then.
For sure, it was everywhere.
So what did they find?
Well, this is where it gets interesting.
Hmm.
Even though those topics were huge, the data doesn't really show a big increase in belief for them. Not during the time periods they studied anyway.
Really? So all that talk didn't actually, like, change people's minds that much? I'm surprised.
I know, right? It's kind of counterintuitive. They even looked at questions like, was coronavirus, like, made on purpose and released?
Yeah.
That whole thing. But belief in that stayed pretty stable.
Huh. It makes you think, doesn't it? It felt like those ideas were exploding back then.
It definitely felt that way.
But maybe it was just, like, louder, not necessarily more people believing it.
Yeah, maybe. And they didn't just look at, one or two theories. Remember, 46 different ones.
Oh, right. Okay, so out of all those, how many actually went up?
Ready for this? Only a handful. And get this, more theories actually became less popular.
Whoa, hold on. So less belief now than, like, years ago.
Yep. For some of them, anyway. It kind of throws a wrench in that whole, we're living in a golden age of conspiracy theories thing.
It totally does. Makes you wonder what's really going on then, right?
Yeah.
But wait, you said before there's still a lot of people who believe in this stuff, even if it's not necessarily increasing, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if it's not a huge surge, like, the baseline belief is still pretty high for a lot of these theories.
Right. So then what's going on? Why are people still so into this stuff?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And to really answer, we've got to dig deeper into, like, what is conspiracy thinking anyway?
Yeah, good point. Like, what does that even mean?
Because it's not just believing in one specific theory, It's more like a way of seeing the world, seeing conspiracies everywhere.
Oh, okay, I get it. So it's not just the moon landing or whatever. It's this feeling like there's always some secret group, like, pulling the strings behind everything.
Exactly.
Okay, so then did that way of thinking, did that increase?
That's what they wanted to find out.
Yeah.
So they measured that too. And in the U.S., at least over the last 10 years, no big increase.
No way. Seriously. What about social media, though? Doesn't all that stuff make people more suspicious?
You would think, right?
Yeah.
But that's where it gets really interesting. If you put these findings together, it actually might mean that social media isn't the main driver of this. Not in the way people assume, anyway.
Wait, hold up. You're saying all that scrolling, all those weird Facebook groups, it's not turning us into conspiracy theorists? I thought that was, like, a given.
Uh-huh. Well, It's complicated. It's not that simple.
Okay, so what? It's not the algorithms or whatever.
Maybe not entirely. Maybe it's more about what people already believe,
Yeah.
their biases. Maybe social media just kind of feeds into that.
Oh, okay. So if you're already prone to seeing conspiracies, you just find more stuff online that supports that.
Right, like an echo chamber almost.
Hmm.
Instead of changing people's minds, it might just be making them more sure of what they already think.
So then, what does explain all this? If it's not just social media, why do people gravitate to these theories in the first place?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's a tough one to answer. It's probably a whole bunch of things all mixed together.
Okay, I'm ready to unpack this. This is getting good.
Me too.
But first, a quick break.
It is, right? It's like even if the overall conspiracy thinking isn't going way up, the specific theories that people latch onto, those can definitely change.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, the world changes, new stuff happens, new things to be, like, freaked out about.
Right, exactly.
So, did the researchers see any, like, patterns in how beliefs in specific theories have changed?
Oh yeah, they did. Remember how they had all that data going way back
Mm-hmm.
that let them see how things shifted over time?
Yeah. Like comparing belief in, I don't know, the moon landing hoax way back when to now.
Exactly.
I'm actually kind of curious about that one. Did they find anything there?
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah.
Belief in the moon landing hoax.
Yeah.
It's actually gone down over time.
What?
Oh.
Seriously? So more people believe we actually landed on the moon now than back then? That's wild.
I know, right? It kind of goes against what you'd think.
Yeah.
But the data's right there. And it's not just that one. A few others, too, like the belief that AIDS was, created as a weapon, that's gone down, too.
So some theories kind of fade away while others just stick around.
Yep.
What makes a difference, do you think?
That's the million-dollar question. There's probably a lot of things, honestly. Social stuff, psychology, cultural stuff. It's complicated. But maybe for some, new evidence comes out or the thing they're based on just fades from memory.
Yeah, I guess some theories just lose their, like, shock value over time. But then there's the ones that just won't die. The ones that seem totally crazy. What's the deal with those? Why do people cling to them so much?
Now that's what gets really interesting. To understand that, you got to go deeper into the psychology of it all. Like, what makes someone more likely to believe this stuff?
Okay, so is there, like, a conspiracy theorist personality? Or is it more than that?
It's probably not that simple, like a personality type. It's more of a spectrum, I think. But some research says that people who feel like they don't have control in their lives, or who are really anxious or uncertain, they might be more drawn to these theories.
Yeah, that makes sense. If the world feels crazy, it might feel better to believe there's a plan, even a bad one. Like at least someone's in charge,
Right, exactly. It's like it gives them a sense of order. And that's where things like big events or when everyone's fighting with each other politically, that can play a part. When people feel threatened or divided, they look for answers, something to blame.
Right, like a scapegoat. Someone to point the finger at.
Exactly. Makes things simpler, creates an us and them kind of thing.
Oh, I see.
And this isn't new, by the way. This whole looking for hidden enemies thing has happened throughout history. Like whenever things get rough, we look for someone to blame.
So it's like a human thing, not just a modern thing.
Yeah, could be. But it's important to remember figuring out why people believe this stuff.
Yeah.
It's really complex, and research is still going on. There's not one answer that covers everyone.
Okay, starting to get the big picture now. It's not just about the numbers, going up or down. It's about why people believe in the first place. What's driving it all?
Exactly.
Makes you think.
And it's why critical thinking is so important.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We need to acknowledge people's worries,
Huh.
yeah, but also encourage them to, really question what they're seeing and hearing. Look at different perspectives. Be careful about those simple explanations that sound too good to be true.
So not just writing people off as, like, crazy.
No, not at all. It's about talking to each other,
Okay.
helping people learn how to navigate all this information out there. Because not all of it is good information.
That's a big task.
It is.
So where do we even start?
Well, first, we got to check our own biases, right?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
We all have them, and they can mess with how we see things without us even realizing it.
The confirmation bias, right?
Exactly. Where you only see what you already believe, even if it's not true.
Yeah.
We've all been there. So, got to be open to challenging our own ideas. Look for different viewpoints. And be willing to change our minds if there's good reason to.
So being humble about what we know, basically.
Yeah, I like that. And not just with conspiracy theories, but everything.
Right.
It's a good way to be.
Okay, that's encouraging. It's a big, messy problem, but if we can get people thinking more critically, be more open-minded, maybe that helps.
It's a good start, for
Yeah.
sure.
But I'm still kind of curious. We've talked about trends and psychology and all that, but what about the actual theories themselves? Like, what are some of the big ones, the ones that keep coming back?
No,
And why do they stick around so long?
those are great questions. Big questions.
Mm.
They probably deserve their own deep dive, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, are you saying what I'm thinking? Are we going to get into some specific theories in a future episode?
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe. The world of conspiracy theories is a big one.
it is.
Lots to explore, but for now, let's stick with what the researchers looked at in this study.
Okay, cool. Hit me with some of the highlights.
All right. Well, they had a wide range, everything from like government hiding aliens, that classic,
Yeah.
to stuff about vaccines being dangerous, food being poisoned, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, all over the place. Even some theories that get mixed up with politics, like elections being rigged, certain politicians being part of some big conspiracy.
Oh, yeah. That stuff gets intense.
It does. And it shows you how these beliefs can get tangled up with like how we see the world, even about things like democracy.
Right.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
It makes you think, is there something like connecting all these theories? What makes them so appealing to people?
Yeah, that's the question, right? And it's tough to answer. But there's some themes that keep popping up.
Okay, tell me, what are they? What are these themes?
Okay, so one big one is this idea of a hidden truth. Like something's being kept from us,
Yeah.
government secrets, science stuff,
Yeah.
history, whatever it is, the truth is out there. But someone powerful is hiding it.
So it's like you're in the know, you see what others don't,
Right.
like peeling back the layers to get to the real story.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
feeds into that feeling of like being one step ahead,
Mm-hmm.
seeing through the lies.
It's almost like a badge of honor, like you're part of this special club, the people who know the real truth.
Right. And that can be powerful, especially if you feel like, those in charge are lying to you. It feels good to see through it.
Yeah, like you're rebelling against the system, exposing their secrets.
Exactly. And that feeling can be really strong for people who feel like left out or powerless.
Makes sense. If you feel like no one's listening, it's easy to believe there's a big conspiracy against you. Like you're not just random, you're a target.
Right.
Wow.
And that's where it can get dangerous.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, when people feel like that, like they're under attack, they might do extreme things to protect themselves or their beliefs.
So it's not just like harmless fun. These beliefs can actually have consequences.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like real-world consequences. History's full of examples of conspiracy theories leading to bad stuff like, discrimination, violence, even genocide.
Wow, that's heavy stuff.
It is. And it shows how important it is to understand these beliefs, why they're so strong for some people. Words have power, right? Even if the beliefs seem crazy, they can affect how people act and change the world around them.
Okay, so we've got the hidden truth thing and the feeling like you're in the know and the idea that there's this powerful enemy working against you. Is there anything else that explains why these theories stick around?
Oh, there's one more that comes up a lot. The grand plan.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Like, it's not just random stuff happening. It's all part of some big, elaborate scheme.
right, like the New World Order or microchips or something like that.
Exactly.
Mm.
But it can be about all kinds of things. The plan could be for world domination or to crush the economy, to like engineer society a certain way, even the apocalypse.
Wow, that's a lot of plans.
Right. And they seem to like change depending on what people are worried about at the time. Like when the economy's bad, you get more theories about a planned financial collapse. Or if there's new tech, people worry about microchips and AI taking over.
It's like there's a conspiracy for every fear.
Kinda, yeah. And it makes sense, in a way. People
Yeah.
want to understand the world, right?
Yeah.
We're good at finding patterns, even when they're not really there. And conspiracy theories, they're like ready-made stories.
Oh, I see what you mean. Heroes, villains, a whole plot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it might be comforting for some people, right? In a world that feels unpredictable and kind of scary.
Yeah, if you feel out of control, it might feel better to believe there's some plan, even a bad one.
Right. Gives you a sense of order, like at least someone's in charge.
But it's fake control, right? If everything's already planned out, doesn't that make you feel like, what's the point?
That's the danger, yeah. If you really believe the system's rigged, why bother trying to change anything? Why vote? Why speak out if it's all already decided?
It's like shooting yourself in the foot almost. Giving up before you even start.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to remind people that They do have power. Their choices matter, even in a messy world.
So it's not just about proving these theories wrong, it's about helping people feel like they can make a difference.
Yep. Give them hope. Make them feel like they can shape things, work towards something better.
I like that. It's a lot more positive. But this is everywhere, especially online. How do we actually fight it?
It's tough, for sure. But there are things we can do. One big one is focusing on resilience.
Resilience.
Like instead of trying to debunk every single theory, which honestly can make things worse sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that happen.
Right. We need our people learn how to think for themselves. Give them the skills to spot misinformation.
So, like, teaching them how to fact check, how to tell if a source is good or bad, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Be their own BS detectors, basically, which is super important these days.
No kidding. Okay, that's a good start. But what about when you meet someone who's already deep into this stuff? Like, how do you talk to them?
That's where, like, having real conversations comes in, not shutting them down or telling them they're wrong. That just makes them dig in more. Got to create a space where they feel safe to talk, to hear different ideas.
So, listening to them, even if you don't agree.
Yeah, trying to understand where they're coming from. A lot of times people who believe these theories, they feel like no one's listening, like the mainstream is ignoring them. So if you listen, really listen, you can build some trust.
That makes sense. And it shows them that, you see them as a person, not just a conspiracy theorist.
Exactly. They're not all bad people. They're just looking for answers. And sometimes the world feels like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it does sometimes. Okay, so we've got building resilience and having real conversations. Anything else?
Oh, we got to face the bigger problems too, right? The things that make these theories appealing in the first place, like inequality, political fighting, people not trusting institutions.
So not just changing minds, but changing society.
Yeah. If people feel like the system's broken, they're more likely to believe in these simple explanations. Find scapegoats.
Like blaming everything on some secret group is easier than facing the real complicated problems.
Exactly. So, got to get people involved, make things fair, build trust. It's a big job.
It is. But this has been super interesting. We've busted some myths, learned about the psychology of this stuff, and it's way more complicated than I thought.
It's a whole world.
So what's the big takeaway for everyone listening? What should they remember?
Think for yourself.
Okay.
We all have biases, we can all be fooled. But if you stay curious, question what you see, look at different sides of things, and be open to changing your mind, that's how you protect yourself from these, easy answers that aren't really answers.
So be an active thinker, not just like a sponge soaking up whatever you see.
Exactly. Knowledge is a journey, right?
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep adapting. The world's always changing.
This has been awesome. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. And hey, everyone listening, keep those minds sharp, keep asking questions, and never stop searching for the truth.
See you next time.